Welcome, everyone. You're listening to and perhaps watching Hot Sauce Sports. The music you're hearing is not music that I'm hearing. I'm your host, Piz Del Ruiz, and joining me is a man who once fought several scorpions, Terry Tam.
It was 2 scorpions.
That's still several. It's several more than I've ever fought.
So, growing up, I always thought that several was 7.
Because they start the same way.
Yeah.
Like wife and Wi-Fi.
Exactly.
Yeah. Either way, it's wireless. I think.
Well, I hope you don't have a wire on your wife.
No, not. In fact, I inquired about it, and despite the fact that I'm married to her, it turns out that doesn't mean that I legally own her, which begs the question, why marriage?
Exactly. Why can't you
You're
own
going
another
into dangerous territories this time of year, my friend.
Yes,
Yeah, that's a very good point.
For those who don't understand sarcasm, I was making fun of myself. It really does suck that we've reached the point where we need to describe when we're being satirical and when we're being honest. That other voice you heard, the disembodied voice, was the Eagle at Master Control. This was supposed to be our glorious return to studio. There's a couple things I've noticed. One is that Terry is terrible at understanding conversations as he
Actually, go finish what you say, and I'm going to prove you wrong. Go.
Terry's at home. That's 1. We're in studio. 2 versus 1. We win.
Eagle's only there. Eagle's only there.
Countdown just to try and get back into the rhythm, and he ignored it anyways. He started talking on 2, so it doesn't matter what I do.
I know.
Eagle had no idea. We told him, and he just decided to walk over.
Yeah, good times. So 2-1, Peas wins. The next thing I noticed was I missed the studio so much. Honestly, I forgot how warm it is in this studio in the summertime, and I forgot how we are just awful pigs. I don't know why we have a set of bejeweled.
What is that?
Bunny ears. Bunny ears.
Wait, let me get back to this. You're kind of glossing over the fact that I'm proving you wrong here. So
it's
you said 2 versus 1.
Why is there a rabbit mask?
Eagle lives 3 seconds away from the studio. Still late, FYI.
Yeah, he was late. That one I won't dispute you, Terry. He was still late.
Eagle lives 3 seconds away from the studio, so he's just like, "Oh, we're doing a studio. Let me just walk over. Oh my god, let me play Pokemon. Let me get my candy out. Whatever, all that shit." Where with you and I, we spoke on the phone, right? Yes. So there's no written confirmation.
That's how old we are, by the way. We use the phone as a phone.
We're fucking old. And not only that, is that I was like, am I supposed to go to the studio today? And even my girlfriend told me that she's like, no, I heard the conversation. You never really confirmed the time. You just said, we will get back into the studio.
Terry.
Yeah, I don't know. It's this week.
You're making
I would love.
Your girl would never want you to leave the house. So essentially, she lied to you.
That's another thing. Maybe.
So that's maybe the thing.
Maybe that's another courageous conversation I'm going to have with her.
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah. I mean, but at the end of the day, would I rather believe her or you?
Well, I'm not giving you sex.
As she walked in the back of the camera,
yeah,
I'd rather believe her.
Makes sense. I will say, Terry, it's probably going to be a fight laden with less arguments than the conversation about marriage and ownership.
Of course.
But one thing I want to start the show with today is I have a new theory. I think football execs are dumb as fuck.
Yes.
And we'll talk about why. Why 31 teams let the Patriots basically get Cam Newton for free. We'll get to that in a second. But the first thing I want to start with is, okay, we talked about this last week. We talked about how changing the name on brands that have, hurtful symbolism, Aunt Jemima, or not even necessarily the name, but the symbol, changing it because it might potentially be
the connotation.
Hurtful. Yeah, like we know that that's not the bulk of the fight. At the same time, if you are offending people, what's the big, brands change all the time. Ronald McDonald is no longer the creepy clown who haunts your dreams while delivering Big Macs. They haven't had him in an ad in 20 years. But, for some reason, when it comes to some of these things, the brands seem beholden to that caricature. Now, the one that keeps coming to my attention is a team. We've actually been on this before all this movement. I have on this show never once referred to the Washington football team by their actual name. I have called them the Raceskins the entire time.
No, you've said you've been very consistent with Raceskins, but it has come out a few times the Redskins.
It slipped,
but which is normal for it to come out as the Redskins. It slipped, but it's normal for it to come out as the Redskins only because it's their actual name. But it's actually stupid for it to be their actual name, especially. today.
It's one of the things that came up on my Twitter was a video that they put out with a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of native people reacting to the name, talking about how much they loved it, which is the equivalent argument of I know a black guy, I'm not racist. So it's a very flawed argument. And here's the thing: is when you say that the name doesn't matter, then why not change the name? If the name then does matter, tell me why it's so important to you that it's okay that people are hurt by this name.
I can understand that in the middle of the season, they've already spent a lot of money on advertising and jerseys and all that stuff. I understand that part of it. But this has also been a topic for like 3 years. I think it's been a topic for longer than we've been doing this podcast, where people are like, maybe Redskins should change their name. It's on a Chris Rock skit from the 1980s. And he's like, the Washington Redskins. He's like, that's the most racist thing I've ever heard in my life. Chris Rock said it in the 80s. It's one of his best specials. And it's so obvious that it's a bad name.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like the Blackhawks, because you're talking about a hawk that is black.
Well, that's a reference to a specific military regiment where the team has the original owner was part of that Air Force group.
Okay, there you go. So I didn't know that. There you go.
Yeah.
But their logo is a Native American.
I mean, the logo could be touched up a little.
But that's what I'm saying. And it's a beautiful jersey, and there's nothing racist about it. But then we talk about the Redskins, now how racist that is. Then we talk about the Florida State Seminoles and what the fans do in the middle of the game when they do the chant there. And then I think what else do we have? The Braves, they have the little the hatchet kind of thing.
The Cleveland Indians.
The Cleveland Indians.
Depicting a person who isn't Indian on their logo
with a red face.
Yeah,
Indians is how stupid people are for naming their team Indians. It's how stupid people are for calling Native Americans Indians.
Yeah,
the reason why they're called Indians, and if you've read a blog once in a while, that's all it takes. Is the reason why they're called Indians is because Christopher Columbus thought that he was going to India, and he ended up
fucking idiot that he is.
Which, by the way, overrated. Christopher Columbus, overrated. You were shit at sea. You got lucky to get to America, a land you discovered even though people were already here.
By accident.
You thought you were in another place miles fucking away. And then there's the whole, let's not even get into why Christopher Columbus is problematic. But anyway.
So Native Americans look a lot different. Sorry, ego, one sec. And Native Americans look very different than Indian people.
Correct. Like
completely different. The only thing they have in common is that they're not white.
Correct.
Great observation, Terry.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's the only thing they have in common.
So the big thing this time around for the whole Redskin debate is that now money's starting to talk, right? Yeah. So large sponsors are threatening to pull their sponsorship of the team. Nike's been involved. FedEx is saying that they don't want their name associated with the stadium anymore.
Good for
There's
them.
apparently talk about how they're not going to be able to move to a new stadium if they don't change the team name. So hypothetical situation. What if the Redskins no longer have jerseys because Nike refuses to print them?
Well, the NFL owns the Nike sponsors the NFL.
It's not a specific team. It's not like college football.
Okay, they produce jerseys for 31 teams.
Yeah,
but they say nope. Go ahead and void our contract.
So Nike. But the thing is that they'll probably, if they try to void their contract, they'll probably have to pay a huge penalty.
Yeah, but
there's plenty of lawyers that are smarter than Dan Snyder and smarter than us that figured this out.
Nike is, if a company is going to do that, Nike is that company, right? They've always been the company to take the controversial stance. Their foundations were setting up illegal sponsorship booths at the Olympics. So they're not afraid of controversy. Yeah. But here's another flawed argument, and we'll get into the news right after this. I'll address this one to Eagle, just because I know Terry's been repentant, but we'll get Terry's reaction secondarily.
To a certain extent.
We'll get Eagles first. Here's an argument we heard about a specific quarterback not being signed. That is it worth the circus? Well, is it worth the circus to keep your team name? It wasn't worth the circus to bring in a quarterback who affects wins and losses on the field, but it apparently is worth the circus to not change your name, even though we've seen a team in Washington go from Bullets to Wizards. Both names are trash, by the way, but they did that, so we know that it can be done.
We know that it's a very easy thing to change. It's, do you want to do it or not? And Dan Snyder is a billionaire, and we call him stupid, but The guy's smart to a certain extent to be able to, to achieve such, wealth and whatever it is to run a business. He can't be an idiot, but he has to be so fucking tone deaf and so stupid. And this proves why the Redskins are honestly, I can compare them as shitty as an organization as the Cleveland Browns.
They're up there. They're
up there. And
I would say in recent history, the Browns actually are a better organization than the Redskins.
No, I think the Redskins have made the playoffs more. The Browns haven't made the playoffs in
no, but we can evaluate
years.
the Browns draft picks in the last 2 years and say, okay, it's better.
Yeah,
and they've done some interesting things in free agency. And anyway, that's not neither here nor there.
No, but just to say is that I can compare them to the Browns. Like the Redskins haven't really done anything successful. They haven't been able to go get big free agents other than Alex Smith. They've always relied on the draft. They haven't really done much. I can't remember. And I play them. My team plays them twice a year. And it's like, I don't know. Like, they're not a threat to me. You know what I mean? They're not a threat to anybody in the NFL. So maybe it's time that you do change things. And maybe you'll start getting the free agents that you should be getting if you do something different. Maybe Cam Newton would have taken even a bigger pay cut. Segue. A bigger pay cut to play for the Redskins because they went and did something that is pro whatever.
For sure. And Dan Snyder is one of those saying that, that would just be a symbolic gesture, kind of like removing the statue of George Preston Marshall. A symbolic gesture. That was the right time to put that statue to rest. And now we can finally segue, Terry, because Terry, it's the news.
It's the one thing I didn't miss. Are we playing the music or?
It is currently playing, but you can't hear it.
Can you play? Can you hear it?
I can hear it. It is
delightful. So now I'm the guest. Remember when we're always in the studio and we're like, can they hear this? And they're like, he's like, no, they can't hear this.
Now you know what can and cannot be heard on the show.
I can't hear anything.
For sure. Terry, it's the news. I don't know if you knew that based on the music you couldn't hear, or me screaming at you that it was the news. But it's the news. Cam Newton finally signs. And here's another example of how it is that these people who are exceptionally talented at business, exceptionally successful, but how short-sighted can they be? How do you let the Patriots, just with no money, no cap space available, take the minuscule amount that they have and get themselves a quarterback who's 3 years removed from being MVP?
Do we know if any other teams made any offers? Because from what I saw, I don't think any of the teams made offers.
That was the thing. No other team made an offer. Now, there's a couple things to consider. First is he was released late in the free agency schedule.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So some other teams already made a decision on a quarterback. The Panthers were changing coach, and then they did decide to do a clean sweep.
Can I just say something on that? If you're in the NFL and you're a GM or a coach or something, you have a pretty good idea what other teams are going to do. It's not a surprise.
We talked about in the show that Cam Newton was likely going to be released.
Yeah. So to say that people made plans anticipating that this was, I never could have figured it out. That's bullshit. If they wanted him, they would have signed him, or they would have made it something at least.
So which team should have signed him, please?
So Miami Dolphins.
Play devil's advocate.
The Miami Dolphins are going to the season with a 38-year-old quarterback from Harvard, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
They also just drafted Tua,
which is fine. But if you because Tua's going to be injured to start the season anyway, and
he'll be injured in his career anyway.
Yeah, potentially. But whether he is or not, for this season he's not playing 16 games. He might not even play a down for you this season. If you sign Cam Newton and he's great, you have A, an asset you can trade, B, 2 assets you can trade, or C, a quarterback for the next 5 or 6 years.
You think Cam Newton's a quarterback for the next 5 or 6 years?
I don't know that. I'm saying, let's say he plays all 16 games and is playing up to the level of his MVP season.
I've always been a fan of Cam Newton, and it didn't make sense to me that how he hadn't found a team. And I think everybody's been saying it it's been a month, at least a month now. Everybody's saying the Patriots are going to sign him. The Patriots are going to sign him. And do I feel bad for Jarrett Stidham? No, because you know why? He's going to make millions watching Cam Newton play. And everybody's like, but they drafted Stidham. It's a slap in the face to Stidham, whatever, all this shit. Cam Newton deserves to be in the NFL as a starter.
Also, it's how the NFL has always worked since ever. If you have a chance to go out and get a guy, an asset you're sure of versus one you're not, why wouldn't you do it?
And Alex, the intern, said he comes with baggage. What baggage does Cam Newton?
But that's just because people don't like the fact that he's showy and doesn't tote the company line. They want to hear quarterbacks give garbage answers at press conferences. They want to hear Andrew Luck being all like, "Oh shucks,
baggage to me,
gee guys,
hey guys." I mean, that's great. Baggage to me is you have You've
Murder,
had drug problems.
rape,
You've literally
drugs.
murdered somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've had drug problems. You've been arrested. You're not a good locker room guy. Teammates have called you out. You're always you're negative on social media. Antonio Brown is the definition of baggage.
And even then, like
Cam Newton doesn't have any of that.
So like before all the stories broke on Antonio Brown, we said on the show like, okay, well, it's nothing criminal. Since then, of course, not paying people and treating people generally shittily, has revealed that he kind of is a dickhead. But that's not the case with Cam Newton at all.
Yeah.
I don't understand the price tag. Like they got away with such theft, and I'm surprised that Cam even agreed to it. I mean, it must have been his literally only offer,
Well,
and this is incentive bonus like base and everything.
But playing for incentives when you're 30 years old and established in the sorry.
No, well, this is my point: is that Cam Newton, it's his best option is to go to the Patriots because if he's successful, they're going to keep him around. They're not going to let him go if he's successful. If he's not successful. Okay, well, if they decide, I think he's going to be successful. Let's say he sucks. Okay, next year he's going to be able to get another contract with somebody. Somebody else is going to sign him. He knows he's going to be playing
As a starter, though, or as a backup?
Maybe not as a starter. Most likely as a backup if he sucks. But he's not going to suck. We know Cam Newton. All he needed was some guidance.
By the way, he's never actually sucked. He's had seasons where he hasn't been as good.
Yeah, like somebody commented. I posted Cam Newton when he signed. I posted the clip. And one of our fans said, 59% completion rating. Yeah. Okay, one, that's like pretty much, I think it's like just below average the NFL. Two, what are you considering? Are you considering his MVP season? Are you considering the same season when he brought his team to the Super Bowl basically single-handedly?
His last full season where they didn't make the playoffs, he had a 69.7 completion percentage.
Exactly. So what are you considering? Are you considering the two games where he was banged up and he tried to force himself to play, then the team said finally, don't play? Like, what are you considering when you look at 59%?
He's also the best red zone running back I've ever seen.
He's a very good player, and the thing is, you saw Cam Newton progress when he got his MVP. The next year, he wasn't great. The year after that, he started playing well again, but it was a slower incline than it was before. And he's still young. I don't know. I think he's like Eagle. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's like 29 years old.
Yeah, he is very young. Hold on.
I think he turns 30 either in the season or at the start of the season.
He's currently 31. Actually, 31. He was born
31, okay.
May 89.
He's literally in the prime of his quarterback career.
Yeah. Given that we've seen from quarterbacks recently, like Tom Brady is still playing, and Peyton Manning played into his late 30s, and
we could talk about all the 24-year-olds that are doing well, like Lamar Jackson and Pat Mahomes and Dak Prescott and whoever.
But most teams don't have that. Most teams don't have those quarterbacks.
You can argue he's putting on miles because of all the contact he's taken, right? Like basically exactly that, playing as a running back. So he's probably not going to get to as far as the traditional pocket passers who are like, my body is a temple, don't touch me type of guys. But I mean, that still doesn't mean he's anywhere close to being finished. Like I can see him playing for another 3, 4, 5 years easy.
Yeah, and then maybe tail end of his career, he's not a starter, but
remember
he's
that
definitely a starting caliber quarterback right now.
Remember that one time, though, on Prime TV, he didn't dive for a fumble, and
that was the Super Bowl.
He's the worst player ever. Yeah, I know, that was a joke.
That's what I was going to say, is that everybody just hates on the guy why? Because he wore a jumper? Because he's flashy when he wears his clothes at his press conference? Because
do you think Belichick's going to start dressing better now?
Questions. No, I saw
hoodies.
I saw a meme today, and it's like, would you rather dress like Bill Belichick for a full season or Cam Newton? And it's a picture of Bill Belichick with his cut-off hoodie, nothing under, and cut-off shorts. So you basically like you're an inch away from his junk.
Yeah, honestly, look, like I said, as for the clothing and all that, like let him be him. If it was like grounds to not have a job because you dress fly, I would have been cut from this podcast when it first started. So
the thing is, Cam Newton actually put effort into his clothes. Where I look at other quarterbacks, like I love the guy Tony Romo. The guy wore an overgrown suit every fucking press conference.
Yeah, he looked like he was wearing his dad's suit.
Yeah,
Andrew
Luck wore a V-neck T-shirt that was dirty with
a neck beard. With a neck beard.
So
thank God CBS is a good department day for dressing him up, because now he looks fly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Tony Romo now
smoke show.
But Cam Newton also, like he cares and he puts an effort into his clothes. Marshawn Lynch wears a backpack and sweatpants. Nobody says anything. You know what I mean? Like it's just people love to complain.
The weirdest thing to me is most people are employees, but when it comes to professional sports, they take the side of the not the employees but the employers, and we saw that with Major League Baseball. Here's the thing that I find, and we'll do this quickly before we segue to the next topic. one of the things that I found amazing about the baseball's return to play plan, Terry, was 42% of the Major League Baseball is making under this threshold of value. Guess what the salary is?
$2 million.
With this new, it is not. The Eagles said $1 million. He is very wrong.
So repeat the question again.
So 42% of the Major League Baseball players during the shortened season are going to be making under this amount of money. Select that amount. Fill in the blank.
Am I technically right?
I'm gonna say
not even close.
I'm gonna say
they're making more than $1 million.
No.
I'm gonna say
right.
150,000.
Well, I guess. But
I'm gonna say 150,000.
Terry's closer. 42% of players will be making under $100,000.
So
the
Terry's
reason why
also
I guess
right, but anyway.
The reason why I guess that low, I think I am right. The reason why I guess that low is because I know that in their agreement, in their negotiations, the higher paid players were going to take pay cuts and the lower ones weren't going to take pay cuts because they want them all to reach a certain amount.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured the lower guys wouldn't be getting.
Because the way it works in baseball is, first of all, they keep you in the minors as long as possible and own your rights the entire time you're in the minors, as long as you're on the 40-man roster. Mm-hmm. Then they own your contract, your minor league contract scaled to the majors, which is not much, which is between $60,000 to $150,000. That salary is renewable for 3 years. Then you go through arbitration for 3 years. So for 6 years, you don't control your destiny. And the owners are making it seem like the players are greedy in this agreement, which is
it makes no sense.
Patently absurd.
It makes no sense. The CEO of Barstool, she posted a picture of the amount of profits that MLB teams make compared to the amount that they spend on payroll, and there's a massive gap there. And
that's what they publish, because most of them don't actually publish like actual figures.
Yeah.
And that's a big point of contention in their collective bargaining agreement is that they don't release their profits to players.
Any group that has Jeffrey Loria on it, I assume that they're trying to screw you over. Automatically.
Jeffrey Loria, David Sampson. I think we need to say this once per show. You are human garbage.
Yes, fuck themselves.
That's it. Barstool Sports finds themselves in the news, as they often do.
Yeah.
It's complicated. There's a skit from over a decade ago where Dave Portnoy the president of Barstool Sports, uses the N-word in a comedy skit.
I didn't know this.
Absolutely. He also referred to Colin Kaepernick as looking like a member of ISIS.
I saw that one, yeah.
I mean, so they're two separate things. One is probably in poor taste, but is very clearly a joke. The other one, while in jest, look, we know, we say it all the time, Terry. Like, if we had a motto in Hot Sauce Studios, it would be, you could say anything you want. Don't be sexist. Don't be racist. Don't be homophobic. Like that's.
So why the fuck is Eagle here?
Yeah, seriously.
Hey, listen. All I said
nope.
was the
Nope.
kids.
No.
Nope.
You didn't say it.
Nope.
It never happened. And good thing we didn't have a big viewership back then because nobody's going to be able to find it.
Are you learning anything during this time?
I'm just trying to defend myself, Barstool style.
Please don't. And so, and to Eagle's point, and we'll play this clip right now. Well, no, we won't play it because Terry can't hear it. I'll just describe the clip instead.
Can't hear it? Oh, yeah, it's true.
Dave Portnoy
I can play
he's
it,
doubling down no, don't play it. It's fine. He's doubling down and insisting that it wasn't racist. It's being taken out of context. I don't think there's a context where.
Wait, which one? The N-word or the
N-word, where you can use that. Okay. Barstool as a company has now responded with a new podcast with their minority, with some of their minority talent. Yeah, thank you. It's a word.
Oh, employees. If you have a podcast on a Barstool, you're an employee.
Well, yeah. So they are some of their minority employees. They started a podcast where it's essentially the N-word, where it's an acronym, as sort of like a way to taunt the media.
Who did that? Do you know who's
Barstool
on it?
Sports.
Do you know who's on it?
I don't remember. It was a press release I saw this morning, and I haven't seen it since. Eagle, you can look that up while we're talking. And the thing is that
no way they did that.
That's kind of that is.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's called. Now it's gonna get extremely real. Yeah. I'm not gonna spell it.
Don't.
Okay, who's doing the show? Is it the two guys?
Willie Colon and Brandon Newman.
Oh, okay, two black guys.
I believe it's Willie Colon.
It's Cologne, yeah, not Colon. Yeah,
yeah.
not the thing that you're gonna have a problem with when you're older.
Exactly.
Yeah.
From
And
eating
then
all
I
that
already have a
candy.
problem with.
So it's 2 black guys. Okay, so I thought it was gonna be like Big Cat and PFT.
No.
You know,
In fact, I have to say, I have to give them credit. PFT actually admonished Barstool and he said, "Look, I didn't even know this was part of the company's past, and no, I don't support it whatsoever." And
he
Barstool
wrote a blog about it. Yeah,
Barstool put out his article saying that. So it's kind of cool that on both sides that he's comfortable enough to criticize his boss, who's not apologizing for it, and then they put out the articles. It's not like he put it out on a third party. They put it out on the Barstool site.
So the thing is, with PFT, he's always been like that, and Portnoy too. I mean, he kind of falls on his own shield, right? So it's like he's controversial, and it's the reason why everybody likes him. It's the reason why a lot of people hate him. And if he said I didn't see it. Obviously, he said the N-word. I'm not gonna jump on and say that whatever. Okay, it was funny, all that stuff. I didn't hear the context. The Colin Kaepernick one was stupid because he starts it off with saying this. He goes, "I'm gonna say something racist," and then Big Cat's like, "Well, don't say it." He's like, "You're gonna say it," and he says it.
I could picture Big Cat saying, "Don't say it."
He's like, "Don't say it." He's like, "But you're gonna say it," and then he said it, and it's like because he doesn't give a shit, right? He just he speaks his mind, which is fine.
And so that's also how he built his empire, right? Like he built his empire, but now there's sponsorship dollars going to Barstool, and now he's not the sole owner of Barstool. So it is curious to see what's going to happen moving forward. The one thing I will say is I think there are parts of quote unquote cancel culture that are important. I think there are important conversations we haven't always had. However, what seems to be more important in his conversations is you go out, you get the guy in trouble, and it's like, let's make the problem disappear instead of let's address the actual problems.
Yeah,
let's address the problem. Why people don't understand
cancel culture, man. I don't like what you're saying. So you should not have a job. You should not be able to say whatever the fuck you want. And we don't have free speech in Canada, but
we do.
No, we don't. We don't have free speech.
In the definition of let's not get into this.
It's not protected by Constitution the way it
exactly. Yeah, like Eagle, you and I can say whatever the fuck we want, but if there's somebody there's somebody, we can't go to jail. We can go to jail for what we say. Is basically what I'm saying. We can go to court.
Depending on what you say, but
but depending on what you say, but you can walk around the states and say anything you want.
Don't say it.
For example, in the United States, it is legal to have a white supremacist group called the KKK.
Exactly.
Because their words are protected by free speech. Their actions, however, are not, and when they're caught, they're punished.
Nor are the ramifications, right? You can say what you want, but you don't have. We're not going to serve you. You're not. I'm not going to work for me. Whatever it is, that's.
Whereas, in Canada, you can be arrested for hateful speech.
Yep.
Is with the distinction, Terry.
And there's been Supreme Court cases, and I'm not going to get into.
Yeah, and there's also people that have gotten sued for saying the R word. You know what I mean? And it's like not Redskins.
I was literally going to make that joke.
No, but there's a comedian, Mike Ward. He's been sued because he made fun of a guy in a wheelchair and he said the R word and he got sued and he had to pay. I don't know how much. It was like $50,000 or whatever it was.
He sued for that too and everything. They're still in the court battle.
But like that's fucked up, man. Like
at a comedy show on top of that, by the way.
Went to. If I go to a comedy show and I don't like what the guy's saying, I leave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just like I don't have to follow Donald Trump if I don't like what he's saying. But most of the people that follow Donald Trump don't like Donald Trump. You know what I mean? People want to be outraged all the fucking time, and they just do it because
that's my main issue.
Everybody just wants to be mad all the fucking time.
That's my issue. Is that the outrage is more important than the actual. So like we're not having in a lot of cases. We've moved on from what were meaningful conversations about race, meaningful conversations about police brutality. We stopped our general programming for a couple of weeks so that we could get Black voices heard on our show, so that we can have meaningful discussions about it and our experience and our experience with friends and colleagues who have different life experiences than us. But then what happens is when you start focusing on sort of the sexier and less important aspects of this, like if you scrub it from history, you're not learning from history, right? Like if you just make Dave Portnoy go away, there's just going to be another Dave Portnoy. You just need to hold him accountable for what he said.
He's not going away. The guy is a fucking machine.
I think in his case, he won't go away because
he won't go away, and he shouldn't go away. The guy has done. He's basically reinvented the internet.
Yeah, I think to his point, part of his whole little 3-minute tirade, I guess I'll call it or whatever. He says at one point, he's like, "You can take anyone, go in their Twitter history, go to their text messages, go find 100%. Something they did online, and you're gonna find something that's probably distasteful in today's culture. 20 years ago or whenever it was totally fine at that point in time. Does it make it right? Probably not, but it was considered acceptable. And the same thing happened with, for example, James Gunn at Disney, right? The director of Guardians of the Galaxy. Someone went back 10 years, found shit that he was doing when he was doing like stupid comedy skits and basically called him out on it, and he had to do a gigantic statement saying, yeah, back then I thought that was funny, now it's kind of different and everything because I've grown and matured as a person, so why are you holding me to a standard back then?
But we're also the first streaming generation. We're the first generation. Like when my kids watch The Office, I'm gonna have to explain how that worked in 2006 the way it won't work in 2046, right? I know the fact that I'm giving myself to live to 2046 is crazy, but
it's not.
The second episode ever, like Cultural Day.
Yeah,
you can't film that anymore.
They did that.
Exactly. Cultural Day, you cannot do that anymore.
But they did that on purpose to push the boundaries, right? And like, if you know anything about the creators, and I know this, and I've kind of guided my comedic principles on the same idea. I've heard Mike Schur talk about this in interviews where he says, well, you can make fun of difficult subject matter, but you don't want to make the oppressed the butt of the joke. You want to make the oppressed come out ahead. So you make Michael Scott the joke. Where he's making fun of diversity, but in reality, we're all laughing at the idiot who doesn't understand diversity.
Yeah, just like South Park. South Park fucking crosses that line every episode. They've been on TV forever. If you don't like it, don't watch it. That's pretty much what it is.
They're purposely like that, though. They specifically put it out there to be like, you have to deal with this now because, guess what? We're going to be in the news.
And they make fun of PC culture, and they make fun of white America more than anybody does. Though.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing, is it's satire. What we do is satire. What South Park does is satire. Like, you need to take that with a grain of salt. I know it's obviously when I'm defending the right to free speech, it's obviously because we have a show. But look, it's legitimately we have this show because it's what we believe.
Yeah.
Terry, you and I might fall on the opposite side of this. There is a fight between Jorge Masvidal. I almost call him George. After doing all this thing about
people call him George. People call him Ben Askren.
I know, but his name's Jorge Masvidal.
Eat in the face for in 10 seconds.
Yeah. And Dana White going at it in the media. He's the latest of the rising stars in UFC, complaining about sort of the monetary compensation. These guys have short careers. And they want to maximize it as much as possible. Dana White's response is that this isn't a career, but rather an opportunity.
Did you hear the clip?
Yes.
You heard it? Okay. Because you can play. I've heard it before. If you want to hear it, you can hear it. And
I've heard the clip. Yeah. I did my best to break it down. Am I missing any details?
So, no, you're good so far. I just wanted to make sure that you heard it. So the reference is that Jorge Masvidal signed the contract. Okay, he signed an 8-fight deal. He's 1 fight into that deal, so he has 7 fights left. He signed that contract this year. Okay. Well, in the last 6 months. And now he's asking for more money.
That's kind of bullshit.
It's kind of bullshit for the UFC. But now there's two schools of thought here. Okay. One is Jorge Masvidal, since that 1 fight, has become a bigger star and probably earns more, deserves more money.
That I was going to make is
so at that point, you don't sign long-term deals.
Well, but Eagle, the thing is that in sports leagues, there's not really any other options, right? So,
yes.
With the NBA, yes, you can play in
Europe.
In China, you can play in Europe, but you're going to get paid nothing compared to what you make in the NBA, right? But the NHL, same thing. There's the KHL, but you're going to make more in the NHL. The NFL, you can play in the CFL, but you'll make much more money in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
You can fight Bellator, but you're going to make more money in UFC. Now, the chief difference between all these things is that those leagues have a commissioner appointed by the owners. Mm-hmm. These guys have an owner who acts as commissioner. Mm-hmm.
Secondly, technically he's not a commissioner. He's the president and fight commissioner. Well, yeah, okay. So he's president and fight promoter. Yeah. So the thing is, he's the guy that promotes every single fight. He has the ability to drain you. He has the ability to promote you, to make you a star. You can see, like, what's his name? The first MMA fighter ever on Sports Illustrated was Roger Huerta. Okay. Roger Huerta started going not bad on the UFC, but he kind of said some things about the UFC that they didn't like. All of a sudden, the first fighter ever on the Sports Illustrated was on the undercard. And eventually, he teetered away and nobody spoke about it. If you don't know Roger Huerta's story, it's a very interesting story because he was probably one of the biggest stars the UFC had seen that they just said, fuck you. You want to go against us?
He was their first major star, if I'm not mistaken.
Not first, but he was like Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell, like back in those days. But out of the new age UFC, when after 2003, when that Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner, when they basically saved the organization, when they started going up and they had the Ultimate Fighter and stuff like that, Roger Huerta was the star. Yeah. So just to say is that Dana White has the ability to drown people, to bring them down. He also has the ability to pump you up. And so Jorge Masvidal right now, he's 34 years old. He has a daughter. He wants more money. He wants to be able to retire. Now, Dana White's coming out and saying this isn't a career. And he's partially right. He's partially right because it's not a career to the point where I don't owe you anything. You know what I mean? I don't owe you, like, you're a fighter. You're a contractor.
I don't know, man. I get a lot of LinkedIn messages that start with, I have a great opportunity for you, but I consider it a career move.
He says it's a good opportunity, and it is a good opportunity. But to Jorge Masvidal's point is that he's been fighting for the last 16 years of his life as a professional fighter. So Dana White doesn't know anything about fighting. He knows about promoting fights. He's been involved for 30 years, but he doesn't know anything about the actual fight itself. And Jorge Masvidal's career, all these guys, all they do is fight. That's their career. They're career fighters, career football players, career hockey players. These guys are career fighters.
But that's my point. So, like, you say that Dana White doesn't owe them anything. He has a giant house and an ass ton of money that he's never got punched in the face for. Right?
He boxed earlier, but whatever. But Dana, we're not going to talk about.
He's currently making money off other people getting punched in the face.
Absolutely.
I think to Terry's point, when they signed the agreement for an 8-fight deal, there was an expectation on Masvidal's side in terms of where his quote career was going to go, and he thought it was going to basically be exactly how it is, right, and just continue on.
Exactly.
But over that period of time, whether you can say Dana White did it himself or it happened organically,
but also,
he got big fast, and now he's basically negging on his contract.
But what are Masvidal's options when he's negotiating that contract?
I would say also, his agent and his lawyers fucked up big time.
But aside from that, Eagle, but it's also different because, again, you're looking at it through pro sports prism where you know if you sign a 3-year NBA contract, you know the age at which you're going to run through that contract. Yep. Jorge Masvidal does not control when he fights.
There's something.
This might be the last contract he signs because Dana White might not give him the fights until he's 40 years old.
Well, that's the thing. That's what people do. And Don King was notorious for doing that. Notorious for doing that.
But how often do we think of Don King as a nice person? No one thinks of Don King as a good person.
I actually met Don King once.
Was his hair as crazy in person as it was?
It was. I should find that picture. I was working at Rogers at the time, and he was outside. He was promoting a fight at the radio station downstairs at Bonaventure, and I went outside to meet him. And he had screwed over a Montreal Greek fighter named Hercules Kivelos. He signed him 4 fights and kind of buried him a bit. So I said, "What happened with Hercules Kivelos?" You know, I kind of put him on the spot, and he kind of just like smooth talked his way out of it, like really quickly.
You should have got his contact info so we could have had him on the show.
Oh, this was like 8 years ago.
I know. You should have had the foresight.
So back to my point.
You don't sign long-term deals, Terry.
No, exactly.
In the future.
There's 2 schools of thought. So there's Jorge Masvidal signed a contract. Too bad, so sad. This is what you're gonna get paid for the next 8 fights. At around 7 fights, we'll renegotiate your next contract, which I understand completely from the UFC. Now, the UFC is saying we don't make money at the gate. We don't make money on concessions. We don't make money this. We don't make money on this. We don't make money on this because there's no fans. Fine. Jorge Masvidal has never in his contract, and not one fighter sees a penny from people people showing up to the arenas. So why the fuck is that your negotiation? And that's the point that's the part where I kind of lose it a little bit on Dana White, where he always does this. If you go against him, he's always in the media. He never says no to a fucking microphone. So he's always going to be talking. And Jorge Masvidal, all he has is maybe going on Errol Hawani's show, maybe hopefully coming on ours one day, going on Le Batard, or even or just his Twitter account. So we don't really know what the full story is. All I know is that Dana White has a point to the point where we negotiated your contract. We're a business. We're not going to just spend money to spend money.
So like,
Jorge Masvidal was like, well, I'm getting punched in the face. I want to be able to renegotiate my contract right now.
Yeah. So like, I've always respected what Dana White did because he took a sport that was essentially illegal.
I love Dana White for it.
Sorry.
I love Dana White for that, and I love Dana White in general.
He made it mainstream, and he's grown it to the point where it is. However, At this point, he's more ego than talent because he's not the guy knocking someone out with a flying knee in the first 8 seconds of the fight.
Yeah.
That's Jorge Masvidal. That's the talent. Your talent is John Bones Jones. Your talent is Conor McGregor. You're not the talent. Nope. I tell you what, at this point, Dana White, if you disappear, nobody's going to give a fuck about you. We will still watch UFC, though.
Yes, I will watch the UFC for sure.
Will it stop you from watching UFC if Dana White's not there?
It won't stop me from watching the UFC, but I will see a problem with the UFC in the future if Dana White's not involved and he doesn't do the things that he does on a daily basis. Then I do see that the UFC will not be as successful because I don't think anybody runs that business like Dana White can. I think Dana White runs it perfectly. He runs it like a business. He also runs it like a fight promotion. He takes care of his fighters. He
doesn't need to speak to the media, though. I think
no, but he has to speak to the media. If he doesn't speak to the media, nobody's watching. And he knows that. He knows.
I guess. I'm worn out. To me, it's always the same thing. He has one note that he plays, and he just constantly, like, you disagree with him, he calls you a pussy. Oh, congratulations! You know what a pussy looks like.
The thing is with Dana White is that
I've seen a pussy once too, and then I married her.
The one thing I don't like about Dana White is how he goes after people that he just might not like. Like what he did to Ariel Helwani was fucking garbage.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And that's the part of Dana White that I don't like.
Yeah, we should try to get Ariel on. That's like one we might be able.
There is an avenue that I can take. I'll see if I can get.
All right, boys. My favorite topic: rapid fire.
Of course. Why would Eagle want to work? He wants to go home, play Pokemon, and eat candy.
There actually is an event coming up, so I'm very excited for it.
Okay, you're getting a camera. We're gonna get you a camera. You're gonna fucking record properly.
Make everything content, please,
and not on an Android.
No. News car forgiven. Last week we were on the show when the news broke announcing that the noose found in Bubba Wallace's garage was not a hate crime targeting the sport's lone black driver. More news has come out since then, including the picture of what it looks like. Holy fuck, it's a noose.
It's a noose.
Who ties rope like that?
So here's the thing. So I understand it might not have been destined for Bubba Wallace, but there's only one garage in all of NASCAR where there's a noose. There's only one city where that noose was tied. That city has a terrible history of racism. If the knot was tied into a swastika, we would also have a problem with it.
Of course.
Don't tie a noose in a professional. If I have a noose at my desk, I will get in trouble. If Eagle has a noose at his desk, we'll be like, Eagle, what the fuck? Terry, your thoughts?
My thoughts. If I have a noose on my desk, ask me what's wrong.
Ask me if I like interesting masturbation. Was it? You guys think maybe it was a good dude just trying
David,
to like
self-erotic autoasphyxiation?
David Carradine.
Yeah. Maybe it was David Carradine's garage.
Do you know the story?
No one
I know the story.
No one on his team wants to admit it. They're like, nope, wasn't me. Nope, got to be racist.
Yeah. It wasn't a sex thing. It was racism, I swear.
Eagle, do you know the story of David Carradine?
How
he died?
My head. Nope, but we don't.
You know who David Carradine is?
Nope.
You ever see Kill Bill?
Of course.
He plays Bill.
And rapid fire is done. DeMar the ridiculous. Jesus, it's hard to say. DeMar DeRozan.
Well,
of the
Duke,
San
maybe you
Antonio,
should read these ahead of time.
DeMar DeRozan of the San Antonio Spurs has said that he finds the NBA safety protocols to be, quote, frustrating and overwhelming. Your thoughts?
I don't know. Like it is what it is, but to be honest, of all the plans, it's the one that seems like it's gonna work the best. The top journalists had to give a percentage of each league's chances of starting and finishing the season. Agent Ward Jarowski was that guy for the NBA. He said 90% chance it finishes and 100% chance the league is starting up, compared to Jeff Passan's thoughts on the MLB, where it was 5% and 10%. So I think it's probably the best plan. I can see why that it could be. These are protocols that are tough and annoying and draining. That said, motherfucker, you're in Disneyland. You know what I wouldn't give to be in Disneyland for free? Like, I'm not even playing the millionaire card. I'm playing the Disneyland card. There's so many rides I've never seen. I haven't been there since I was a kid.
So
I've never been to Disneyland.
Oh,
Disneyland or Disney World?
Either. I've been to
God,
Universal
you're
Studios.
Stupid. Go now. Like, get on a plane. Just go.
I mean, I'm
It's
not
worth it.
I'm not four. You know, like
Right.
Yeah, but we can go to Epcot and drink around the world, though.
Okay, I'll go to that one.
Yeah,
To put it in perspective, in the NHL, the Canucks had to have a meeting today with Jake Vernon because apparently he was caught at a nightclub on Instagram, totally just hitting up chicks, and they're like, "Yo, you're supposed to be quarantining. We got a season coming up. What the fuck are you doing?"
It's not gonna last. Like,
As long as he's not at that party in Alabama.
We'll get there.
Pro athletes will violate quarantine, 100%.
All right. Olympian. Oh, I skipped one. Schedule talk. The NFL looks to remove some of its preseason and move some games back. The regular season seems untouched for now, but that's still kind of being all figured out. Are we going to have an NFL season?
I mean, I don't know what I'm going to gamble on in fall if we don't have an NFL season, so I selfishly hope there is. That said, the NFL seems to be the greatest risk of contamination. There's guys literally huddled together. There's a lot of people on the roster. It does look like they're going to have the benefit of time to see what happens to the other leagues. But at the same time, this is good for the players because it gives them a precedent to remove preseason games in the future, which they've been trying to do for years with their CBA.
There was a quote from Rodney Harrison earlier on saying, in football, you have to breathe on people, you have to tackle people, you spit on people, guys have cuts, guys cough. He's like, I don't know how we're going to have a season like that.
So I'll just refer them to our previous topic, the UFC. So the UFC has managed to put on fights where you literally bleed on each other, literally, and nobody has contracted the virus.
But that doesn't mean that nobody can.
You're also talking.
You also have a far less people involved in a fight.
But I'm saying zero.
Yeah, you got 200 people on both sidelines for an NFL game, right? So
I understand.
The WWE has had an outbreak already.
But that's because it's WWE and they don't give a fuck.
That's also true.
They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
The UFC has done it perfectly. Now, the counter argument to the UFC being safe is golf. What is more social distancing than golf? There's 4 guys on the PGA that got the virus.
Yeah. Because
solitaire is very social.
The thing is that you need to consider
Pokemon Go.
You need to consider more than just the action during that sport. Like the entourage of the team is 53 players plus all the coaches plus whatever else, strength and conditioning guys, all of that ecosystem. Your bubble is 100 people. So if one person goes out and breaks quarantine and brings COVID back, you now have potentially 100 people who are able to spread the virus.
I get that, but maybe it's just because I want it to happen.
Oh, I want it to happen too. Don't get me wrong. I'd love for it to happen. I'm tired of this shit. That's why I came to the studio today.
I think if anybody's willing to take the risk, should be willing to take the risk, it's the most healthiest people in the world, which is professional athletes. But you put them in a bubble. Now, I will not fault anybody for not wanting to play, though. If the NFL says we're going to put it on, we're going to do this, this, and this, and this, NBA as well, DeMar DeRozan doesn't have to play. Zimmerman for the Washington Nationals has said, listen, I'm not taking the risk. I have my family at home. I have kids.
Carey Price said something similar for the Habs.
Yeah, Carey Price, it looks like he's not going to show up. So I understand that, and I won't fault you for not showing up. It's just the leagues should be able to do something to put on the events. If you decide to show up and work, that's on you.
I will say Carey Price joins the rest of the Montreal Canadiens teammates in not showing up.
Olympian Ice Gods. If the players ratify a new NHLPA collective bargaining agreement, we could potentially see the NHL players return to the Olympics for 2022 and 2026. Essentially, fuck you, Russia. We skipped you. Back to regular programming. The question becomes, what are the players giving up to go to the Olympics?
So I've always said that the Olympics should not be for professional football players, hockey players, and basketball players. I don't think that players in the NBA should go to Brazil, wherever the Olympics are going to be, and just destroy everybody. I
have a counter argument to that because if you don't allow pro athletes, not just NBA, but pro athletes to play in the Olympics, the rest of the world is at an extreme disadvantage because the best players in Spain, the best players in Italy, they all play in pro leagues. And the NCAA is an unpaid pro league, so the Americans have an even greater advantage if it's just college players.
So I agree to that. The only thing is I think that they should maybe make a limit on the age, and maybe 25 and under, and those are your guys. And at least 20. Oh yeah, exactly. But 25 and under is good. But 25 and under gets a lot of those young stars. Mm-hmm. You can probably get a few young kids out there like Lafreniere would make Team Canada. example. You know what I mean? These are the things that I'm
Then
thinking
it's just
about.
the World Juniors every 4 years.
No, World Juniors is World Junior. You're 18 and under.
Yeah. The thing is, I'm kind of torn because I remember the Olympics where I was waking up at like 5 a.m. to discover Paul Correa and Timo Solani before ever watching them play in the NHL. So I have fond memories of that. But I also have fond memories watching the Dream Team. It was, when else would you ever watch Jordan and Barkley and Ewing all on the same court?
Oh, it's fun. It's
Magic
great.
Johnson,
I remember.
Like
I
that's,
remember 2010 like it was yesterday when Canada won the gold medal against the USA on
it was
Canadian
awesome.
soil.
It was
Amazing.
awesome.
And Ginlet or Crosby, two of my favorite players of all time.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not love that? You know
That's what
I
I'm saying.
mean?
Like, it's your chance to finally
Yeah.
like see, like, essentially a fantasy squad actually take the field, take the court, take the ice.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like if you made this team, you're already one of the best players in the fucking world, unless your name is Chris Kunitz and Crosby just wanted you on the team.
And last topic for today, gambling with your health, literally. Officials say that young people in Alabama are having what they're calling COVID-19 parties, where partygoers take part in a disturbing competition where some people who are there have coronavirus and some do not, but nobody says who. And then whoever gets a positive test result first wins a prize in the form of cash. So everyone basically antes up. So you're quite literally betting that you're going to catch corona before everyone else, and that gets you cash.
Why wouldn't you give the money to the last one? Like, why wouldn't you give the money to the last one to contract it? Like, you come up with a time limit of like 3 weeks, and like whoever's the last case in 3 weeks, then you're the one, you win, or 2 weeks, or whatever it is.
To me, it just sounds like an excuse to stick your tongue down everyone's throat as fast as you can.
Well, that's every college party ever.
Terry. I mean, it is Alabama, right? So I guess if your mom gets it, your whole family's going to get it for the same reason of you're sticking your tongue everywhere.
Jesus Christ, Eagle.
The worst. The worst.
And that's end of rapid fire.
Can we not end on incest? No, we cannot. Thank you, Terry, for joining us via telecommute. Hopefully next time you will actually make the commute and listen to our telephone meetings.
You're wrong about, by the way.
Eagle, maybe next time you can start your 40-second walk 40 seconds earlier and actually be on time. I have been Peas. You've been Terry. You've been listening to Hot Sauce Sports. And you've been Eagle.
I mean, you did it. So, can we do it again?
Hot Sauce Sports!